Anything else. Nick, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Great stuff there. All right, we are on your side remembering a pivotal moment in our history. This year marks 60 years since the March on Washington. It was the largest gathering for civil rights of its time. More than 250,000 people from every corner of the world attended, all marching side by side, demanding an end to segregation. They wanted fair wages. They wanted economic justice, voting rights, education, and long overdue civil rights protections. Well, the march was the product of the 6 most prominent black civil rights leaders during the 1960s. They were known as the Big Six. We're talking John Lewis, the legend, Whitney Young Jr., A. Philip Randolph, Martin Luther King Jr., of course, James Farmer Jr., and Roy Wilkins. Dr. King addressed that crowd of 250,000 people. He made a speech that still echoes through the ages.
I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
And there is so much more to that speech. You need to listen to the whole thing to take it in context. Dr. Clarence B. Jones was one of Dr. King's lawyers and one of the writers of the I Have a Dream speech. He's one of the last inside men of the civil rights movement, still with us here today. He is 92 years old. Well, his memoir, Last of the Lions, was just published by Red Hawk Publications, which is located in Catawba County. I spoke directly to Dr. Jones about Last of the Lions and the message he wants readers to walk away with. Where did this idea come from to write this book?
Well, first of all, let me just deal directly with the caption, the title. The Last of the Lions is really a paraphrase, it's almost verbatim, of an African proverb that says, if the surviving lions don't tell their stories, the hunters will get all the credit. So I, without bordering a little slightly, perhaps being a little self-critical on the line of degree of presumptuousness, because I know those persons. I know every single person who was very close and around Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so I therefore know that with the recent death of Harry Belafonte, that means it's only Andrew Young and Reverend James Lawson. And Reverend James Lawson was not, I mean, he was very influential and very respected by Dr. King. They respected one another. But he didn't work with Dr. King on a day-to-day basis or talk to him like Harry Belafonte and I did. And so with Harry Belafonte's recent message, I am, with the exception of Andrew Young, I am the last of the lions. We are the last of the lions.
Wow, that's quite prolific. If you would, Dr. Jones, how would you characterize your relationship with Dr. King?
Oh, well, very precisely. In February 1960, I started initially as a political advisor, and then evolved into becoming his personal lawyer, and then draft speechwriter. Until I was 29 at the time, and he was 31, I guess. Anyway, he was 2 years older than I am, and that continued until April 4th, 1968, the date of his assassination. But he was assassinated at the age of 39, and I was 37. And the book is not just solely about my relationship with Martin Luther King Jr., but it is a relationship that talks about, that gives the reader some insight as to how I became the person that eventually not only became his political advisor, personal lawyer, and speechwriter, but also the first Negro, or now African American, partner of an investment banking firm with the New York Stock Exchange. So I wanted to give the reader some insight that I just didn't drop out of the sky. I'm a product of, as an only child, of domestic household servants. Father was a chauffeur and a gardener. He had a 4th grade education. My mother had a 7th grade education. And they put me in a Catholic boarding school. I was raised by Irish Catholic nuns. As I said in my book, the thing that I most remembered is they repeatedly telling me from the age of 6 until 14, Master Jones, be a good boy, we love you, Jesus loves you, and you are beautiful.
Is there any one thing that if someone reads this that you want them to take away from reading your book, what would that be? What's the one thing you want people to come away with?
Power of self-confidence. And the capacity to love.
And that is a great message. Now, this is actually 2 stories in one. We have Dr. Jones. His book is coming out, and it's an incredible book, too. But the other story here is that it was published by Red Hawk Publications. And the director of Red Hawk Publications is here with me tonight, Richard Eller. Richard, great to see you.
Thank you.
You and I have done some work together before. Tell everybody where Red Hawk Publications is based.
It's based on the campus of Catawba Valley Community College. It's a publishing initiative of the community college as a way to highlight the talent that we have in the area, which is part of the college's mission statement.
How long has Red Hawk Publications been around?
This November, we'll have, it'll be 6 years since we published our first book.
And you've published quite a lot of books, but nothing perhaps on the scale of this book, right?
Oh no, not at all. This one is really a departure for us because it is not necessarily just highlighting our area. This is a national figure.
A very national figure, and I don't know whether you know this yet or not, but Dr. Jones was telling me that the New York Times is going to publish an entire chapter of this next week, I believe. The Washington Post is publishing part of the book as well, and also AARP Magazine doing a feature story on him. It's just, this is putting Red Hawk Publications on the map then. Would I be wrong to say that?
You would not be wrong. That puts us on a whole other strata.
So what does that mean, though, Rich? I mean, my understanding is you all are actually now having to turn away people who are looking to be published. Is that right?
That's true, because we're getting so much attention from things like this. This is obviously going to be our flagship book for a long time to come. And it came to us because of an association with a project we did earlier that you'll remember, the Untouchables. There was someone who was connected with the Untouchables who knew Dr. Jones since he was looking for a publisher. We fought very hard to be able to get the right to land it. Luckily, we did, and we've been working for 14 months now on making sure that come August 1st, this thing will be on the stands and ready to go.
This is most likely going to be a national bestseller. And for Red Hawk, this is really to come from where you've come from. What does that say about Red Hawk Publications?
It says we worked very hard over the last 6 or 7 years after Robert Knipe and I, an English instructor on campus, decided that we should be telling stories about the community and now farther. And Patty Thompson, our acquisitions editor, came along and joined us. And so with the 3-man staff, we have really put the pedal to the metal to make sure that this thing is without flaws and ready for that national audience.
Wow. So this puts you all on the level of Simon & Schuster, Random House, and all those huge publishing companies, because this is a significant book that I really do believe is going to be a national bestseller, because Dr. Jones has a story to tell unlike very few others could tell. It's really something else.
I agree, because it fills in some cracks of things that we didn't know about the civil rights era. And you only get that now with Dr. Jones, who truly is one of the last of the lions.
He really is. Richard Eller, Red Hawk Publications, Catawba Valley Community College. We appreciate it, and looking forward to seeing what's coming up next for you all.
We are too.
All right. Stay with us. Coming up next on Your Side Tonight.